And this would be a good time for me to actually plug in my clicker, wouldn't it? Right, so while I'm doing that, what are you all after trying to get out of tonight? Is there anything specifically you're looking for out of tonight's talk?
To automate my life.
Automate your life? I do not have a slide for that, I'm afraid. Dear. Well, good evening everyone, thank you for having me up here. I'm actually a graduate of the University of Sheffield, and I used to live and work here. In '96 I had to leave because of the recession, and I went down south, and I've never made it back to live and work up here. But for me it's a real treat to be able to speak up here in what I consider my home city. So thank you very much for having me up here. I've been doing this kind of stuff. This is my 25th year in industry now, because I graduated from the university in '94. Over the last 25 years, I've worked across academia, startups, enterprise, and I've done government projects as well. I haven't seen everything by any means, but I have seen a lot. And the whole point of these talks, I do a lot of these talks, they're all up on YouTube, go find them, go watch them, there's a lot of topics covered. Is I'm trying to share all the things I've learned the hard way, so you don't have to. I run a company called Ganbaro Digital, where I've given myself the job title of Chief Software Archaeologist. Because what's the point of having your own company if you can't have a bit of fun, eh? Yeah? So please do follow us on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot on the company. I'm going to get better at that as the summer goes on. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you're very welcome to. However, be warned, I'm passionate about my causes, I'm passionate about my hobbies, and I tweet about them a lot, especially as we live in, what would the Chinese say, very interesting times. So if you only want tech stuff, you'll be happier following the company. Okay? So, I've got a question for you all, first of all, to start off with. What automation do you currently use in software development today in your jobs? Someone must use Sun.
Depends what you mean by automation, isn't it?
Well, the floor is open.
We've got plenty of shell scripts doing stuff.
Plenty of shell scripts?
On a nightly basis.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Deployment.
Deployments, yeah. What are you using for deployments?
Deploy HQ.
Deploy HQ, okay. And how about anybody else? So the majority of you are not using, that you know of, any automation whatsoever in your jobs. Okay. Hopefully then you're going to get a lot out of this talk. So for the two of you who do automation, I'm afraid I'm going to be looking your way a lot tonight. Why? What's your motivations? Why are you doing that?
Stop repeating things.
Stop repeating things, okay.
Stop having to do loads of stuff manually.
Stop having to do stuff manually. Okay.
Reduces error as well.
Reduces errors, that's a very good one. Okay. I want to share with you a story then, because I promised I'd put some more stories into tonight's talk when I pitched this to try and get up here. And I want to share with you how I first got interested in automation. Now, this is being filmed, so all the names and circumstances have been changed to protect the guilty. Okay? A long time ago, I inherited responsibility for a system. It was a multi-million-pound system, and it was written in a compiled language. And this system was worth even more than it cost to build. It was a very, very big system in its day. It'd be tiny by today's comparison, but it was a big deal back then. And one of the things when I inherited this system was I was told to grow the number of people, the size of the team working on the system. I can't remember, it's too long ago now, I can't remember whether I had to hire 15 more people or grow the team up to 15 people. But I had to hire a lot of people. There was only one problem, this system. It was written in a compiled language. And this was a big company, and there was only one machine in the entire company where this code would compile. It was one particular developer's workstation. And only that developer, he was the only person who knew the magic incantation to get it to compile. No one else knew how to get it compiled, no one else could get it compiled on their machines. Now, if you've got a large expensive system in a large company, there's a lot of demand for new features, constant fixes, rollout, that sort of thing. And if you're hiring a large team to come and work on it, you can't have them sat around unable to work. So that's where I first got involved in paying attention to automation and how to do automation and the benefits of it. If memory serves, I think we spent 6 months sorting that mess out until we got to the point where we could do regular releases every single week without fail. This is before cloud. It's almost before internet. It was very, very early days, around the dot-com boom. And 6 months of having to do this work didn't go down very well with people, especially the higher-ups, who were spending all this money on staff and I had this expensive system that we couldn't ship for 6 months while we sorted it out. And ever since then, that's kind of left me a bit scarred. I've been determined in every role and every organisation I've been part of ever since, never again am I going to get into that kind of situation. Now, how many of you have similar problems where you've got systems that not everyone can deploy, even with manual processes? There are hands going up off camera for the benefit of anyone watching this on YouTube at a later date. Yeah, you can see it can be quite a crippling problem. So that's how I got started with automation. And I thought it'd be good to talk about why we automate before we do a tour of everything else. Because I think the why is really something we want to revisit. One of the common things I hear about it is common practices. Multiple people being able to do the same thing in the same way. That's one reason I hear for automation. You're no longer relying on individuals and their knowledge or their machines, as was in my case to do it. You're sort of scaling the process, if you like, by being anyone can able to jump in and do it, and everyone being able to do it. Another reason is, for lack of a better word, de-skilling the process. My generation, we learn sort of how to build the hardware, how to put the operating system on it, run the operating system, write the apps, run the apps, debug it all, and answer the phone. Because there was no one else back in those days. So I guess you'd call that full stack skills these days. But the industry is no longer like that. It's changed beyond all recognition. And now everyone's got their little niches where they're very good at something, and the rest of it they have to rely on other people to do. And automation is a great way to help with that. Increasingly, I'm seeing the market changing and more people working as front-end developers. And being able to give them an automation script to say, here you go, here's how you knock up a local copy of the website so you can then go and work on it, helps them enormously. I had a quick Google to see what other reasons come up when for why to do automation. And I was surprised to see this was one of the top answers. People hate doing repetitive tasks. They find it boring. And so a lot of people automate things simply because they don't want to do it. Not because they want the computer to be better at it. They just don't want to do it. They're bored with that idea of that work. Now, those of you who have any management role or have done that in the past, you may be familiar with the phrase herding cats. So in management circles, it's common to look at developers and say they are a challenge to manage because they're all off doing their own things. They're willful like cats are. It's not an assembly line, it's not a factory production line at all. And so often automation is introduced to force teams to work in a certain way, to set boundaries on them as well, and limitations. So these are all reasons for introducing automation that I've seen in the boredom case that I Googled, and I've seen that happen and I've seen the results of that. But that's not my motivation today. I used to subscribe to all of that stuff, but I've been reevaluating things in the last few years, especially since starting my own business and realising it was an opportunity to question everything that I'd been doing over the first part of my career. Now, I'm a great believer in working backwards from where I want to get to, rather than trying to work forwards. And so I've been looking for a guiding direction to help me decide what's a good idea to automate and what isn't. And so I've been looking at this, I've ended up adopting one principle out of everything else. And whilst everything else is a good reason for doing automation, for me as a developer, I care about one thing more than anything else. I want to go faster. That is the primary thing. The time it takes me to develop a piece of code and ship it now is the difference between being profitable and not. hosting costs are, unless you're doing something big, hosting costs are negligible these days. It's all about how long it takes to ship the code and get that invoice out the door. Or if you're working as part of an organization, ship the code so the features can bring in more money. So I want to be able to iterate faster. And the reason I want to iterate faster is because in order to ship code quicker, I want to catch any problems as early as possible so that I can find them and fix them before they move on to later stages of the work. That's what I want to do. And we're going to talk about, this is going to be a running thing throughout the talk, about being able to iterate and being able to find problems sooner rather than later. I don't know how many of you believe in 10 times programmers, and they're often mocked on Twitter and other forums. But I can assure you these kind of people do exist. And one of the things that sets them apart is how quickly they can iterate. It's not that the first version of their code is better than mine or yours. It's that they can get to the better version way quicker than we can, because they can iterate faster. Now this has a consequence as well when we're looking at automation, deciding what to automate. Any automation that gets in the way needs to be got rid of. Anyone who has worked with automation has probably had days where you've sworn at it because it's stopping you doing something, or you've had to spend time on fixing the automation instead of actually getting the job done because it's starting to get in the way. So this is the criteria that I want to use to evaluate automation throughout the rest of this talk.